The STEM landscape right now is very bleak. You're dealing with the lack of diversity in gender. Women account for 48% of our population, but hold 24% of STEM jobs. People of color, specifically Black and Latino, count for 31% of our population and currently hold 10% of science and engineering jobs. There's a disconnect between schools and the real world. For example, with me, I excelled at math in school. However, I always struggled, when am I going to use analytic geometry or calculus 1 or 2 in real life, or trigonometry? And then most schools, not all, but some, just can't adapt fast enough. So whether it's bureaucracy, a lack of funding, or just a lack of overall resources. Now, this slide right here, I have this like utopia on the board, and I want everybody to imagine a world where STEM education and access to high quality STEM programs is available to everyone, regardless of gender, race, or socioeconomic status. Where children excel and are able to make real world connections between what they're being taught in school and what they're learning outside of school. And where school districts leverage strategic partnerships to help fill in those gaps. Wouldn't it be great if the STEM fields reflected our multicultural society? Well, I have news for you, ladies and gentlemen. That world exists, and it's called Get With the Program. And this right here is our logo that's being displayed right here on the screen. My name is Jason Williams, and I'm the founder and CEO of Get With the Program. Get With the Program is a nonprofit organization that promotes and reinforces STEM literacy among preschool through 12th grade students. As a father of 2 school-age, half Japanese and African American children and 1 toddler, I grew frustrated with the lack of diversity in STEM, especially as it pertains to children's STEM programs and STEM literature. So instead of complaining about it, I did something. I formed a company and created a book series based on my children to address this issue. And so on this page, there is a picture of the cover of our book series. And I wanted my children to see themselves doing this type of work. And so I created the Awesome Adventures of Amina and Amir. And it's about my 2 oldest kids, Amina and Amir, and their awesome adventures in computer science. They're the main characters in our book and prominently displayed on our logo. So these 2 guys right here. And so we're going to do a quick history lesson to understand what got us on this path into project-based learning. So initially, Get With the Program was going to be content-based. In January 2015, I was one of 20 people selected out of over 200 applicants to participate in Oberlin College's Business Incubator, the Launch U program. I was the only one in my cohort who was in the idea phase. All of my peers had prototypes or had been in business for some time looking to take it to the next level. However, being raised in a blue-collar town instilled a blue-collar work ethic. I'm originally from Lorain, Ohio. My grandfather worked in the steel mills for a number of years, and my grandmother worked in schools, Lorain City schools, for a number of years. I managed to secure startup money and an opportunity to attend a business leadership conference in Toronto. So there's a picture of me accepting my reward and smiling. So this face with an award. So as we're working on publishing our first book in the series, our illustrator and graphic designer, who also happens to be my wife, went into labor 4 weeks early and provided us with our newest edition, my youngest daughter, Anissa. So needless to say, This threw off our publishing timeline. Going into the summer of 2015, I was thinking, what can I do to keep this dream alive? So it was then that we came up with the idea to do STEM camps. And by we, I mean my wife came up with the idea to do STEM camps. And so, this is our first hands-on project-based program we did in June 2015. And on this page, there's a poster of our participants. We had 8 kids for our very first program. 2 of them were mine. And so we started this offering these hands-on project-based programs around the content of the book. And we also expanded the content to include all aspects of STEM and not just computer science. And on this next slide, I have some percentages of women and people of color in these STEM fields. And this is important because America is undergoing 2 major shifts. The first is demographic. According to the 2012 US Census, by the year 2040, people of color will be the new majority right here in the US. The next major shift is economic. According to the Smithsonian Science Education Center, Georgetown University, the White House, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and various economists, between the next 1 to 2 years, over 2.4 million STEM jobs will go unfilled because we don't have the skilled workforce necessary to fill those positions. How do we close this economic and opportunity gap? It's a no-brainer. We must train and prepare US citizens for STEM careers, but it starts with training and preparing our youth for STEM education. How do we do that? Oftentimes, I hear teachers, professors, and STEM practitioners spread this false narrative of certain children just not being interested in STEM. Even recently, I met an engineer, a retired engineer, who shared that same sentiment with me. And obviously, I disagree, and here's why. Next slide is our gender and ethnic breakdown versus the gender and ethnic breakdown in current STEM fields. So with women, they're currently 24%, they make up 24% of STEM jobs, whereas they make up 46% of the participants in our program. People of color, 24%, 24% current STEM jobs, and 44% of our participants. So we are making a difference. One part of it, of our success in reaching these underrepresented populations and in these underserved communities, is that representation matters. So whether it's the professors who work with us when we offer our STEM camps on Oberlin College campus and other places, the various STEM practitioners, professors, we work with a very diverse group of people. We actively seek them out and get them involved. Diversity matters. So when kids see this, they either relate to it personally, they relate to it because they have friends that look like us, or somebody in their community that they respect. There was I'll share with you a story. This one school district we were working with, still working with them, in a predominantly white community, very affluent. We were there doing one of our STEM programs. And I had 2 of my employees with me, 2 Latinas, and this one girl sees me, and she sees me, position of leadership. I had a suit on at the time, and she asked me, was I Martin Luther King? That was her frame of reference. And so that's why, being in a position and having all these different groups involved, that's why it's important. Next, there's a disconnect with what children are being taught in schools and the real world application. So our approach to STEM is hands-on, project-based, and interdisciplinary. And so we have 3 main programs. We have our STEM Academy, our STEM camps, and our STEM lab. Our STEM Academy, that's our on-site after-school program. We run STEM camps. These are our year-round programs. So throughout the school year, when kids are on break for whatever reason, a holiday, in-service day, or like spring break or something like that, we have these one-day, all-day camps. And then in summertime, we do week-long camps. And then we have our STEM lab program. And so the only difference, all of those programs are hands-on and project-based, and the only difference is where they take place. So on-site at schools, college campuses, or elsewhere. And so our approach to STEM not only allows students to apply what they learn to real-life situations, but by incorporating other elements such as art, physical education, music, and other subject matter in the STEM, we're better equipped to address various learning capacities, because as we all know, we all learn differently. And so the next slides here are examples of our programs. So one is we did a physics of sports family night program last year. All the participants received this. We partnered with Oberlin College and worked with the football team, the men's basketball team, and the women's field hockey team. And all the kids received a booklet with the physics, the math and science involved in their favorite sports. So when the kids were talking about Kyrie Irving, we say, hey, he's demonstrating kinetic and potential energy when he's dribbling the ball. And then we had dribbling activities for them. When you talk about Steph Curry, when he's shooting the ball, that parabolic arc and the backspin on the ball that helps it go in. Talked about that. We talked about Tom Brady when he's rolling out of the pocket to throw the football, how he's creating a vector. And then when you're tackling somebody, that's torque that's involved in that. And then we even have, is everybody familiar with those Zorb balls? Those giant balls that you actually get inside? All right, so we even had the science and math involved in collision and momentum, and the kids banging each other up inside of those balls. And then even with our computer science program, even with our computer science programs, there is a technical component where the kids will learn coding, and depending on their level, maybe Scratch or HTML, CSS. We had a group of 3rd through 5th graders last year build their own websites. Then we'll reinforce that by having an activity where they'll encode and decode binary words and then make a bracelet with their initials in binary code. We have a board game that teaches them algorithmic thinking. We even came up with a game, our if, then, or else game that teaches them about conditional statements. So you have an art activity, something technical, and a physical activity reinforcing computer science. And our programs work. So this slide right here shows the data we collected from our after-school program. We used a CM3, or California Measure of Mental Motivation, which is an assessment that specializes in little kids' assessments. And in the course of 2 hours a week for 5 weeks, we saw 8.6 increase in creative problem solving, a 10% increase in mental focus, and a 12% increase in cognitive integrity, so their ability to make a decision. So the next time you hear someone say those kids aren't interested, remind them of Get With The Program. And so it will take extra effort and outside-the-box thinking in order to spread this impact. I've shown that it is possible to reach underrepresented groups and underserved communities. By joining forces, we can have a deeper and transformative impact regionally, nationally, and globally. With your support, we will continue to inspire and prepare all kids for a future in STEM. Little kids, big opportunity.